Welcome to the I-80 Club and after Nebraska football following a brutal loss for Nebraska on this Sunday morning. Jack will be doing it again next week as it's an 8 o'clock kickoff for Nebraska and UCLA. Hello, how are you?
Hello, watch along? Maybe.
Oh, people are asking.
I just thought of that. Are they? Okay, I just thought of that.
No, I'm asking. That's a great idea.
I don't know if I'm able to. We could consider that, or at least even a second half one.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, stay tuned. Jack and I will discuss that over the course of the next week and figure out if maybe we are going to do a watch along. Welcome in if you're joining us live for the first time. Perhaps you've never watched the show before. This is After Nebraska Football. Normally, it is a Saturday night show, but with the game being so late last night, Jack being in the building, we pushed it to this morning. We'll be going on for a little more than an hour. Say goodbye after 9 o'clock as Jack has some things to get to the rest of the day. I have family.
Maybe go to like 9, little after 9. We don't have to be a hard out at 9 either.
No, yeah. I said after, didn't I? 9:15? Yeah.
Yep, I just want to make sure you knew.
Hey.
He's mad about the
loss. Over here now. He's over this way. Right now, he's in front of me next to the desk. I don't know what the hell is happening. But yeah, we will recap the game, give you our thoughts on what happened. I'm curious to hear from Jack, given that he was in the building. Just a couple quick things. No Before the Witching Hour today with Matt and me. We will not have that this morning. Also, Jack, you are doing Volleyball State tonight. With Lincoln, and a special guest will be joining you tonight. So that will be a good time. And that'll start at 7 for subscribers right here on the I-80 Club YouTube channel.
That I'm looking forward to that. Yes, I think Amy Just is going to join us as well. Excited to have her on the show with Lincoln and myself. And I feel like I need to bone up. Like I watched that Wisconsin-Nebraska match. We're going to get to football quickly. On Halloween night in my garage with my daughter, and it was like I was ready for like this like crazy Halloween night rivalry. And once again, I was like,
and then they just blew their doors off. Yeah. They are a monster.
I say this in the best way possible. That they are one of the most, their matches are some of the most boring things I've ever seen right now.
Yeah. You made a joke like that in the group chat that we have with the Volleyball State guys about like what is happening with them this year. They are a freaking machine in terms of how they are taking out these opponents. So absolutely crazy stuff. So they'll be on tonight for that one. Looking forward to Jack and Lincoln tonight with Amy Just. That will be a very good time. So that's coming up tonight. If you want access, patreon.com/I80 Club. It will be available publicly on Tuesday. Live tonight, though, for subscribers. And Jack, I think that is it, at least in terms of things that we know. There'll be a Big Ten breakdown tomorrow, recapping the weekend that was, including Nebraska's loss to USC. Let's get into this, Jack. I mean, there are 100 different ways to go. If we do not get to the thing that you want to do, first and foremost, I'm saying this kind of the audience, like, don't worry. I imagine we will get to it because there are, Jack, a myriad of angles to take from this game. The porous run defense, the decision-making in the second half in particular, the general play calling. I know that people have been pretty pissed about it. Really, USC fans probably woke up pretty pissed about the play calling as well.
Their play calling, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Garbage. TJ Lateef comes in. Like, I would say, am I missing any? And then, of course, just the blackout. Am I missing anything? Like, those are the 4 or 5 kind of pillars of this football game that I think are going to dominate the conversation the most in the coming days before UCLA. Did I forget anything?
I guess, I mean, to add one positive one on Nebraska's side is just like Emmett Johnson continues to just
incredible.
Like it kind of sucks. Like it sucks because I want him to have more of a stage right now and get some wins because like I'll start out with that, honestly, on a positive note. And it's not just him, but I mean, primarily, look, he is having an unreal season, Josh. And like,
I know.
There have been Nebraska running backs who have been really, really good in the past, but I think he's got less help in some ways. He's making more with kind of less room to some degree than maybe Amir Abdullah even, because he's the one who we most frequently go back to. And the amount of usage and the level of consistency from him, which is always what we kind of laughed at about him. Like, not in a super negative way, but we were like, yeah, he's just like, you're not going to get anything terrible from him. You're not going to get anything huge from him. Well, now what you get from him are like every play highlight reel 5 to 12 yard runs.
Yep.
Is like specialty. Like I hate that effort was wasted in this game. It was wasted. I hate that effort came in a loss. I hate that effort
29
came in a loss. I mean, I hate that he's not getting a bigger stage, and frankly, I hate that his numbers aren't even better than they are, because they could be.
Yeah, Jack, I just posted his numbers in the Discord server. And by the way, we'll be taking comments throughout the show this morning inside of the I-80 Club Discord server, unless you would like to drop us a super chat here on the YouTube page. I just posted his numbers. He is now second in the country in rushing yards, over 1,000. Jack, remember when we did the discussions in the offseason, like, could he get to 1,000? And he does it in the 9th game of the season, over 1,000 yards. The thing last night, Jack, and he has been this way. This was like an argument for and against him in the preseason in terms of believing that he could make that next step. Was he never really has the long breakaway runs. He is always very consistent. But, dude, that consistency is now, I think, his biggest strength. Whereas maybe in the past you would say it could be not a weakness, but it was just, okay, he has a ceiling as a runner. His long last night was 23, 29 totes, 165 yards, which is the second most he's had on the ground this season. And he averaged 5.7 yards a carry, touchdown as well. Like, insanely consistent. And that is what he has turned into as a running back. Maybe, Amir Abdullah really started breaking through as a junior. Amir had the breakaway speed, and he really started developing that towards the end of his career. And maybe Emmett still has that gear if he comes back for a senior season. But the consistency and his ability, Jack, to get positive yards on almost all of those 29 carries. I mean, he is just such a special running back. Such a special running back.
I mean, he just doesn't take plays off. And like you said, Josh, like he makes the way he makes 6 to 12 yard runs, 4 to 12 yard runs, whatever, positive runs look like highlight reel runs over and over and over and over again. It's crazy. Like, I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but man, I don't remember too many running backs that did that. Right? We've seen the guys who are just huge we've seen the Lawrence Phillips and Amon Greens, who are just like big speedsters that, they could run over you or they could just fly by you, right? And we've seen, the Mike Roziers, and we've seen all of these things, and they were all different types. But man, the way that Emmett does it, just being in space, being so difficult to tackle in not, I say space, just the opposite space, in crowds, being so freaking difficult to tackle every play. It's an unbelievable. Where in the hell would this offense be without him, Josh?
Yeah.
I mean,
I got the game, Jack, right now on my on TV. I'm rewatching it, and I mean, the first carry goes for 7.
Oh God!
The second
that
carry,
first drive
he goes for I mean, he was awesome.
That first drive was beautiful. As a whole,
it was. Jack, that is now that 9 games, 7 drives in the first drive of the game this season. Nebraska has moved the ball well. They've not always finished with touchdowns, of course, because they've had the one against Michigan where they go for it. There's another one in there where they turn it over. Their ability, I don't know what it is, and Riss and I were talking about this last night. Their ability to have such a strong first drive, like you wonder what, like, and most offensive coordinators, they're in their bag. It's the stuff that you practice all week long, right? Like, you're so good, but their ability to be really, really good, and then not always the case with Dana Holgorsen after the first drive. You wonder, what is it about that beyond just you practice the plays, what you're going to call, et cetera, et cetera. What is it about that they are able to raise the level and then just kind of not really match it the rest of the game in every game that they play for the most part this year?
And it looks like the play calling. I heard, I don't know if it's that they run those plays so much in practice that everyone feels so comfortable with them, right? When they're scripted or what it is.
I have to imagine that plays a big part.
But on the other hand, like, I think, I don't know. I know there were some people like just furious. I think I've been about the biggest critic of Holgorsen over the last several weeks. I was not quite there with a lot of people this week in terms of that. I feel like it is I feel like it's an offense that's constantly playing with one arm tied behind its back for some reason. And that was before the injury. Like,
I was going to say, what is that? Because, it's funny, outside of the outside of the play where Dylan gets hurt, I mean, offensive line, at least when Dylan was out there, protection, I realized at a certain point, Jack, in going, I think it was probably halftime, like, oh, wow, that hasn't even been a talking point. Like, it's not even that, oh, he did a good job. Like, Maiyava did an incredible job all night long of avoiding pressure. Incredible, because Nebraska, I thought their pass rush last night was the best that it's been this season, but Maiyava is just so squirrely back there. Dylan, he didn't have to do that. They were getting it out quick, and there was no real I thought the offensive line. So when you asked when you say the thing about arm tied behind their back, like last night at least, I didn't really think that was the case. At least until
I guess and I thought Dylan. Boy, what drive would it have been? Was it the one right before he got injured? He had a drive where he had a couple of passes in a row. Was it the drive that? Forgive me, I can't remember what happened at the end of the drive. There was one to Dane Key over the middle. They were going from north to south, and then I believe was it Lindenmeyer or someone that he had another one of those feathered ones. I was like, oh my gosh, Dylan looks like he's kind of getting in his bag again. Like I think they had just about gotten to the point in this game, Josh, going at the end of the second quarter where it was like, okay, USC is starting to get worried enough about Emmett Johnson and the running game that Dylan is able to start to get comfortable for the first time in weeks.
Yeah.
Like in weeks, I started to see touches of it. It wasn't completely there.
I just thought, Jack, didn't the offense look like they just looked in control? I think was the word that I would use. Like they did not. It just didn't seem frantic. It seemed measured. And there was a lot of people wondering, and I'm curious as to your thought on it. Why is Dylan running the football on some of these third and longs? And the response was they're saving something for later, right? And like in the end, that we didn't see. Was that the case? Were they saving something for later? I have no idea. But they didn't seem like they were pressing, I guess is how I would describe it on the play calls and how the offense operated until the Dylan injury is going to be this dividing line of the game. But until then, they really didn't seem like they were pressing.
I mean, I felt like they had kind of a whole game strategy they were setting up with Dylan in the game. I agree. Some of the Dylan runs there. And then once Lateef got in, I think everything changed, obviously. And so I probably have more critiques, but I mean, it was nowhere close to I still don't. That Minnesota game will haunt me forever in terms of what the offensive strategy was. Like, there's nothing even I can pick some areas probably that I didn't love it, but as a whole, I was on Holgorsen. I think like no one was after that Minnesota game. And I don't know that I don't have that feeling about this one necessarily. It still does feel frustrating though, Josh. Let me say this, it still feels frustrating that Ja'Cory Barney, they cannot figure out how to make him a factor. They cannot, man, they even did last year. They could do it. Early this year, they could do it. How is he just a non-freaking factor?
Three catches for 6 yards, Jack. And the people posted the screenshot of the play that TJ Lateef, the snap that he dropped, that Barney, it looked like they were trying to get him a slip screen. But Jack, you look at him now, since the calendar flipped to October, he has 81, 82 yards. If I did my quick math there, that's over the course of 5 games. And if you just go, Jack, in the last 4 games, he has 36 yards on 10 carries. 36 yards since the Maryland game on 10 carries.
I watched during that Michigan game. I remember saying, holy crap. This guy is the best player on this offense, bar none.
For sure, by far.
Bar none. I mean, Rhule was even making the joke shortly after it. He was like, you don't think Ja'Cory Barney isn't getting some calls to transfer? And he was right, I'm sure. Like, he looked like the best player on this offense, and now he's on the milk carton. Like, they can't figure out. I don't know if he's not right completely, or if it's just that they cannot figure out a way to involve him, but they continue to have these parts of the offense that they just can't put together. In a way that makes it actually hum. And that's why I say one arm tied behind your back. It feels like I was talking about. It's like whack-a-mole. It's like whack-a-mole. It's like you can use one of your strengths, but not all of them at once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it seems like they were happy to
did do better.
The offensive line. Yeah. It was a much better performance by them last night. I thought that they went after. I'm just looking at some of the numbers. I mean, they targeted Hunter had 5 catches for 30 yards. I mean, God, they only had 98 yards passing.
Even him. It's not even just Barney. I saw there was a comment that said, don't try to make Barney happy. Hunter's so much better. Fine. Hunter, Key, they're still not used as weapons.
Those. I mean, hey, if you want to talk about just the receivers, Hunter, Key, and Barney, those guys had a combined 10 catches.
Even. I would say Lindenmeyer too.
He only had 12. I mean, they only had 15 completions last night. 10 of those by Dillon, 5 by Lateef. This 5 Lateef completions only went for 7 yards. He averaged 1 yard an attempt last night once he came on. It's because, and I don't mean to just bounce all over the place, but when he came in, Jack, it was so obvious that they did not trust him at all. And so, like, anyone who had been wanting him, I think you owe Dylan Raiola an apology. That guy, they did not trust him to throw the ball downfield one iota. When they were in situations where they had to throw, they just were like, nope, we're going to be happy to do a short little something or other.
Although he tried that back shoulder one that was misfired on. He didn't have the timing right, and then he went deep on one that was double coverage.
Yeah.
It was close. It wasn't too bad, but there were other. I mean, he looked like a young quarterback, Josh, taking snaps, fumbling the ball, right? Very narrow playbook. Holy crap! They ran that same play where he has the run RPO to either run it himself, hand it off, or go to Lindenmeyer. I bet they ran that 4 times while he was in there. And it worked. Yeah. I think the first time he ran it, I think it might have been the first play they ran. Like, that is his go-to plan. And then I think that was also the play that Emmett fell down on the 4th down.
He had 6 rushes in the end for 18 yards, including a long of 10. So then that was one of the early rushes, Jack. So, I mean, you take that one out, it was 5 for 8. So, like you said, the playbook was certainly very limited when he came out.
And listen,
there.
I'm not here to like bust on Lateef.
No.
He's a freshman. All these people who thought, though, the grass is way greener, they have Dillon in that game. I feel like they probably win it. But like,
it certainly is a different game if they do.
It was so freaking. Yeah. So, and then let me add to this, Josh, your radio station and taking calls after the game. Do you know what the first caller's take was? Do you know what the first caller's take was last night?
I was listening to the show, but help me, as I don't remember exactly. What was the first call?
It was a complaint. I don't even know how. I can't even understand the reasoning, but it was essentially, why hadn't Lateef gotten a shot earlier in the year? Somehow spun the argument into the problem tonight was that Lateef hadn't been subbed in earlier. People are insane. People don't. Come on. Like, I thought it was going to shut it up. It actually made it louder. And again, I'm not crapping on. I do like the idea of him in the future. Listen, Josh, I love
those times freshman who got thrown into the fire. Yeah,
the times he pulled it down and ran, my heart was fluttering on those. Ooh, baby. I love me a quarterback that can run, but right now he's not the best option. We need to quit saying that he is. In fact, I think he's going to develop better in this situation. And again, I'm sure we got a lot of people to crap on, but I want to, like I said it about Emmett Johnson, like that dude, like, there's just not enough kudos in the world for him, man. He looks like he is trying his ass off to will this team to victory. I mean, Dylan Raiola, I don't know how bad his ankle is. I think it's pretty bad. But look, there's a whole lot of quarterbacks that wouldn't have been doing what he was doing during that game. And look, I've been one too that, like, sometimes it feels like what that dude does is for show. See what I said after the Pinstripe Bowl. But man, the fact, see him running out on the field, talking to Lateef every single time, like he was in that situation. This is, for me, and maybe not everybody agrees, there are a whole lot of likable players on this team, which is even more frustrating. Like, I get it why Rhule talks about this team the way that he does sometimes, and especially that, that Emmett Johnson, Ja'Cory Barney, Dylan Core, and then, these guys on Sierra right? Singleton, these guys that are some of the guys who are veterans and playing their ass off on defense and kind of, fairly quiet, don't make terrible, just don't make game-breaking mistakes. Like Javen Wright, like, he had a great game last night. Wright did, and has had a great season. So
yeah,
we'll get to the thing I hate about this season.
Yeah, we'll get to the defense in a little bit, because once again, I mean, the pass defense is absolutely ridiculous and on fire. And they had a little bit of help with the pass rush. Jack, I got to the point. I don't know if you remembered. It's USC's second drive. Maava has this great throw, and then Nebraska has 2 defenders that close in and are able to bat it away after the ball was in the receiver's hands. We'll get to the defense in a little bit. Let's talk, Jack, about the decision making in some of the spots on offense. And the one that I have been focusing on a lot over the last, almost 12 hours now is the decision when it is 4th and 1 on the USC side of the field. This is post-injury for Dylan Raiola. I believe, Jack, that this was, because I don't have the whole drive charts in front of me. Yeah, you know where I'm going. I believe this is the first drive after the injury, right? So Nebraska, they get the ball back. They're still up by 8. They are still up 14-6, and they are driving, and they are moving the ball, and they get, again, onto the USC side of the field, and it is 4th and 1, and they bring out Heinrich Haarberg, who lines up under center. And remember, at this point, Emmett Johnson, who we started today's podcast with, very much praising, and we will continue to praise him, he already has 100 yards. So he is on his way towards a really nice evening. And they put Haarberg under center, and Lateef, if I remember right, Jack, he is originally at the running back spot. There is confusion on where he is supposed to be lining up. Haarberg tries to get him to move. And the other thing is, I take a tiny bit of a step back. This was moments after Matt Rhule had already wasted a timeout to yell at the officials about a play that you're not able to review. And Nebraska calls a second timeout. And again, there is 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. There are 19 minutes to go in the football game, and they call a timeout, and then they decide not to even go for it anymore. They bring out the conspiracy. Kyle Kunanen misses the 52-yarder. It was short. And Jack, the next drive, within 5 plays, USC has a touchdown. They add on to it a 2-point conversion. And all of a sudden, it is 14-14 in the blink of an eye. And Nebraska is down to 1 timeout for the last quarter plus. I mean, it is every game is going to have a moment that, is like this dividing line. And I guess we already kind of talked about one of them being the Dylan Raiola injury. But Jack, what unfolded for Nebraska football in that stretch was, Matt Rhule his in-game management has been a discussion point. You and me have discussed it a lot. Hell, we talked about it last year in particular with the USC game, the game that kind of gave us the groin kick chronicles, if you will, in the way in which they lost. I thought that what happened in that moment last night, and especially when you consider the first time out as well, was worse than what happened last year with the fake punt, bring the offense out after a timeout, delay of game fiasco.
Yeah,
I don't want to say it lost
that,
them the game, but that was an absolute joke.
And that was USC, Terrible. Right? Too last year.
That was USC. That was USC last year.
It felt like indecision. It felt like indecision while the clock's ticking down. And he said, first of all, what was the help? Remind me now, because I remember in the moment, I remember yelling about the first timeout. And I think there was a call. At first, I was yelling at whatever call. I agreed with whatever call Matt Rhule was pissed about. But then I could tell it looked like he was taking a timeout. And I remember saying in the stands, like, that's not reviewable. But what was the play at it? Was it something about Corcoran? What was it? A personal foul or something?
Yeah, somebody help us out in there as well, because I should have looked that up. I just had such a busy morning.
Somebody help remind me of that play. I want to say it might have been like a late push on Corcoran or something. But all I remember saying
what it was.
Like,
yes. That's what it was. Yes, it was that the one where Corcoran literally got shoved over? It was Jack. I can't believe they missed it.
It was bad. And by the way, there were some bad calls in that game.
That was a bad. In all fairness,
he was right. He was right. But I was pissed. I was screaming just like he was.
Timeout about it.
Well, what are you going to do? You can't. You can't. A lot of times, coaches will call timeout and then they'll get a review and they'll get their timeout back. Right. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's what he was thinking, or it was just in the emotional moment, but man, it was, but regardless of whether it was, should have been called or not, like that timeout, you just got to be, it's ironic for me to say this, but this is what I was saying in the moment too. I was like, man, you just got to move on right after that. And I agree. I thought it was a bad non-call from what I saw, but regardless, taking the timeout doesn't do anything. Yeah. And in that game, you're going to need those timeouts.
Yeah.
You're going to, at the very least, you need it when a play clock is running down or something, right?
And not to skip ahead, because I want to read a comment from Biff in just a second, but when they get the ball, Jack, at the end of the game, and look, they have so many yards to go. It's not likely that you're right there. They're not. It's unlikely that they are going to drive 90 plus yards and win the football game. but the fact that they were so laissez-faire with the start of that possession before the 2-minute warning, and they also didn't have the timeouts in their back pocket anymore, was terrible. Biff says Corcoran should have been Corcoran should have been flagged for blocking past the whistle, and then the USC guy shoved him, offsetting penalties. Him losing his mind cost us the game. That's a great way to view it. I mean, both guys made a mistake. Neither guy got called for it, though, so in the end, it's a wash in that moment in time.
Look, I in the moment, what I saw, I thought it was bad. But it doesn't matter. That's not the point, whether it was a good call or a bad call. Even if it was the worst call in the world, there's no reason to take the timeout there.
Bingo. And that was the problem.
To get them to a point, or to get them to the point where the play clock was running out or whatever. The reaction to whatever happened there was the problem. The debate
he let his emotions get the best of him,
whether it was a good call or not, it was moot at that point, right?
Yeah, he let his emotions get the best of him.
And so then they use it, and so that makes it. And then they get down. Now, help me remember again, because I'm in the stands and I haven't had a chance to watch the whole thing again. But help me remember, they bring Harburg out. Did they line up? Like, did they do hard counts that looked like they were trying to draw them offsides?
He lines up under center. And I think the confusion was, and I need to go back and watch that play, that they maybe didn't have enough men on the line of scrimmage in that situation. And so that was where the Lateef, he was moving, and I think he was going to try to get on the line so then they would have a legal formation, I believe was the problem with that. So I don't think that they hadn't really started the whole rigmarole of let's try to draw them off offsides or something like that, though.
That's what Rhule said afterwards, was that they were trying to draw them offsides.
Yeah. God, that's wild. That's wild that they
didn't. I mean, they clearly weren't. That was not what that was.
We've talked about this now, especially over the last 2 weeks, Jack. Their inability to pick up a yard is just so wild when Emmett Johnson's able to run for close to 200 yards, and yet they can't get 1 yard sometimes. And so, like, why line up in like the goofy shit where it's Harburg and Jack, you have a quarterback who is on the field, who obviously is, I mean, he's probably going through it at that moment in time. And you're doing weird formations with a different quarterback. Like, why not just put Lateef back there and have him hand it off to Emmett Johnson? Either go for it or don't, but don't put him in a situation where he might be lining up in an illegal formation.
I've got everyone defending all these different ideas. I've got some people on the chat saying I was okay with a field goal. I got some people in the chat saying
I wanted them to go for it.
They shouldn't have done the Harburg. They shouldn't have had Harburg out. They should have run another play.
I wanted them to run Emmett Johnson.
We got some people who know what they want to play. I'll tell you, the only thing we can agree that they shouldn't have done is put a formation on the field, call a timeout, and then kick a field goal. Because that's what none of us are saying they should have done. I would have taken
they did everything wrong.
Choices. I would have taken any of the choices you guys have, or like, here are all the things I would have taken above what they actually did. Kick the field goal immediately.
Yes.
Go for it immediately on fourth and hand it to Emmett Johnson. Do a play action pass and throw it downfield.
Hell, Jack, you probably would have been okay with Heine doing it as long as you don't take the time.
They would have got it. They would have got it. I don't know about anybody's crapping on the Heinrich Harburg thing. They would have got the first. It was this far. They would have got the first. I don't like, what in the world? Why there was something. There must have been something about the formation, Josh. That maybe explains it better than anything. It must have been something about the formation. And to me, Josh, I mean, it looked like people disagreed on what to do.
In terms of who? The team?
Probably the offensive coordinator and Matt Rhule.
Probably, yeah. But you know what you can't do in that situation? You cannot call a timeout.
I agree with Reese. It would have been better off. You wouldn't know this at the time, but they would have been better taking a delay of game and punting than they did.
They really would have. The fact that, because then at least you change field position, because remember, you miss the field goal 5 plays later, they score, and then they get a 2-point conversion. It's a tie game. Like, everything changed over the course of that, and I should go back and look and see when they called the first timeout. Okay, so they run 2 plays, Jack. They start with a 5-yard run on that drive, Emmett Johnson. Then they do a 6-yard run, so it's a first down. Then that is where the the penalty was not called. Nebraska calls the timeout with 7:24. On the next play, Lateef runs. He picks up 6 yards. That's the one where he fumbled it out of bounds, but not a big deal. Then on second down, they do Mekhi Nelson.
And here's the other thing. Mekhi Nelson came in and had one of them, it wasn't a great run, right?
No, it was not a great run.
And look, I think they need to give Emmett Johnson some breaks for sure. Man, that one cost them, in my opinion.
Yep,
because you have a fresh enough Emmett in that play, and go watch that play again. It just you can see the difference between 1 versus 2, or 3 on the running back depth chart.
So that was
that's a
second
first
down
with Emmett.
Yeah, and so then it sets up 3rd and 2, and that is a 1-yard pass to Emmett Johnson, and so then it sets up 4th and 1, and then that was when everything went.
And it wasn't even a yard. It wasn't even a yard.
I know.
It was like this much.
Yeah, unreal.
And so
absolutely unreal.
I know there are people like crabbing about the Harburg formation. I don't know. That's fine with me. If you have that much to go and you don't want to have Lateef do a sneak, that makes that I'm completely fine with that call. It's not like that. It's not like that play just won't work or couldn't work.
That's
Harburg.
Fair. It just hasn't been perfect, and I would just look, man. I'm all about in football. Give the ball to your best players. Put the ball in your best players' hands. Right now, the best player on the team is by far Emmett Johnson,
I'm sure they've had.
I would have gone.
But
Emmett
they've
Johnson.
had. Listen, the one thing Emmett Johnson has had a few struggles with, or his team, is 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, right? And so I think that's probably in your mind. And so if it's that short, you do what every other team usually does. You sneak the ball, but again, you don't feel great about Lateef in that situation. You feel more comfortable with Harburg.
And that
I have no problem with that play call there. Zero. Yeah. I got zero problem.
Just do it. Just do what you want to do.
They would have gotten
what you want to do.
Listen, that USC. Let's be clear. We talk about physicality and pushing people around. That USC defensive line was not pushing Nebraska's offensive line around necessarily last night. This was not, and they weren't even like.
This wasn't Michigan.
He would have gotten this. He would have.
Yeah.
So
I
still don't get why they didn't care. What were they afraid of? Were they afraid of him getting stuffed and getting nothing? That's what I don't understand.
Well, and that's what Biff says. Harburg has been stopped multiple sneaks already this year, but the indecision is significantly worse than the play call. And I could not agree with Biff more and anybody who has that opinion. It's one thing, Jack, to go for it and to not get it. It's another to debate what you're doing and in that moment and waste a timeout. Look, man, I watch football every week, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And the difference in the good and, the average to the good to the great coaches in those situations, there is zero doubt about what they are going to do at that moment in time. It's one of the things that I love most about Dan Campbell in Detroit. Their ethos we are going to go for this in this situation. And his team knows that they are going to go for it in that situation. Nebraska panicked in that moment in time. They got into a formation that they didn't know what the hell they were doing. They have to call a timeout. Then they just change their minds entirely. They kick a field goal that isn't good, and suddenly the game is tied a few plays later. It's just a shit show. Again,
the punt thing with USC is last year is the best. It felt like the same thing. The mind changing late in the game, right? The sort of the back and forth and the not having a decision and just going with it right at the outset. And that's happened, before in crunch time too, especially in 2003, right? When I'm going back to Wisconsin and Maryland, weren't they running the play clock down really late, trying to make those late game decisions? And
remember those games were
sort of a
they were weird because game to game they were making decisions, as I said. I think on the Chronicles, they were almost answering the call from the previous week. Oh, hey, we did it that way. Let's go the exact opposite. Yeah. He even brought it up in the press conference after those losses a couple.
Again, there's no any decision. I know we're all arguing on I'm okay. I would have been okay with the Harburg sneak. Some people are saying that wouldn't have worked. Whatever. The biggest point that I just said again is all of our ideas, including Ritz's about punting, taking a delay and punting, were better than what they actually did. All of them.
Yeah. 100%
better than what they did, which was not only miss a field goal but waste a timeout. And it was 14-6 at that moment.
It was 14-6, Jack. So they were trying to make it a 2-score game. They're trying to go up by 11. But here's the thing. Given how they had kind of called some of the plays in this game, as somebody said in the chat a little bit earlier, like a little kind of a Big Ten West type game, in that moment, if they want to punt in that moment in time, I understand it because you have a freshman quarterback out there on the field.
I bet that played into it. Honestly, I bet that was part of it.
Make up the
they're
mind.
hey, let's get Lateef back here and let's talk to him about that drive and get him ready get him ready for the next drive. And then we'll just get a 2-score lead. USC is going to take a bunch of time off the clock here because the only way they're moving the ball is running it. And then we'll just give it to Emmett, for the rest of the game. My guess is that's what the thinking is, and maybe some of the concern about Lateef being young played into it as well, saying, hey, look, even if we get the first, we're going to be kicking a field goal anyway, perhaps was the thought.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do they think that they could have actually scored a touchdown there? At that point in time, too, because USC hadn't scored a touchdown, They had some of their own perplexing decisions, and I don't know, Jack, if there's anything else you want to do on offense right now. I guess we could talk about the last drive of the game, certainly. But, Lincoln Riley, his play calling, as we said earlier, was really, really – it was weird in this game, given how successful it was. I think D'Lo had the stat in one of the channels earlier that they were averaging – yeah, here it is. 7.3 yards a rush on first down. That is what they averaged. There was also – John had a hilarious tweet last night, like literally right before USC got the football, where he was like, USC is averaging X amount on first down when they run, and they're averaging X amount when they pass. And I said something like, can't wait to see what they do this time. And they literally did the dumb thing. They threw the ball again on the pass defense that is pretty much impossible to throw on. And so I don't know, man, in hindsight, maybe punting would have been the right move, because not like USC was making a whole lot of right decisions on their offensive side. For
USC, like, I guess, people can talk about Nebraska's run defense, and that's fine, but most of the time the defense bent, but only broke a bit, right? Against a powerful offense. Okay. And so, like, how many of there were several drives where they ran like crazy up during the drive and then ended up not scoring points or ended up with a field goal. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, yes, that to me, I think that was part of the scheme. Like, all right, listen, they're going to get 7 and 11 yards in the middle of the field sometimes running the ball, but they're not going to beat us deep. They're not going to beat us passing. I think what they didn't account for is Maava's decision to run a couple of times. To me, those were the backbreakers, was when Maava was able to run. I mean, he got the touchdown that way, right? He
avoided all sorts of sacks last night.
Right. He avoided sacks, but he avoided some sacks, and he scored that touchdown. He had two big runs
actual yards on
that play,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it wasn't just that he was able to move the pocket around, but he actually picked up yardage as well.
He ran for 62 yards, Josh.
Yeah.
Like, to me, those came in back-breaking, like, situationally, times up situationally, in my opinion. So I don't know, man. I get why people were looking at the rush defense and being like, hey, man, that dude got 129 yards, 7.2, all of those. But on the other hand, 21 points, and then offset it with their complete inability to pass. I would have never dreamed, Josh.
It was incredible. Check, it was incredible.
Dreamed they would have had this inability to pass. And again, they did run it quite a bit, and that played into it as well. But I would have taken that 100% of the time, even if it was. And it had to do with the way Nebraska, let's be clear. You could see it. It was pretty visual. Like, you could see the way Nebraska was aligning itself, right? And Nebraska doesn't have a defensive line that is going to be, huge run stoppers. I mean, I think that's pretty clear, to be honest. Yeah. But what you gave away in the running game, you easily got back in the passing game. And again, 21 points, man. 21 points.
Jack, if I would have told you before the game,
6 points in the first half. No touchdowns in the first half. Come on.
If I would have told you, Jack, that they were going to give up 21 points, you would have said that is the perfect number. Nebraska should very much be in the game. John and I had a discussion on like Wednesday or Thursday. Like, what is the number of points that if USC gets to that you're saying there's no chance in hell? And I think I said like 31. And so they were off that number by 10. The passing stuff that you're talking about before, and I do want to dive into what they did on the ground. Maava finished 9 of 23. 9 of 23 for 135 yards. He was, Jack, so inaccurate throughout this game, and that was because of the pressure that Nebraska was finally able to get. He threw an interception. He only averaged 5.9 yards an attempt, 0 touchdowns. They were able to move him off his spot. His passes were behind. They were high. He had probably 3 good throws, I thought, all night. Even the short stuff, man. He just never seemed comfortable back there. And I'm looking at Game on Paper, which is a great website. They have all sorts of advanced nerdy numbers if you're into that kind of thing. One of the things that they have is EPA per dropback, and they rank it in terms of the percentile of the entire sport. Nebraska held USC on their dropbacks into the 23rd percentile. So that means that there is 77 percentiles above them that they could have been as a passing offense. They shut them down. Their success rate when throwing the ball was terrible. It was only 31%. Last night. I mean, Nebraska, it's exactly what you would have wanted. And yet, as I rewatch the game right now, when they ran the football, I mean, I would say, Jack, I mean, how often, well, I can look at the success rate. They had a 51% success rate when they ran the football last night. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised it wasn't higher. There was the one drive. I think it was when they got the field goal to make it 7-6, where it was like 12-yard rush, 15-yard rush, 13-yard rush.
Until the end.
And then they're like, hey, let's throw the ball like a bunch of idiots.
Yeah,
like everybody in the
crazy.
Nebraska media corps was absolutely ripping them. King Miller, 4th rush of 10+ yards tonight. Like that run defense has been a problem this year. Jack, this was worse than Michigan, right? Like Michigan had the breakaways, but as Rhule said, and I mean, some people said it with tongue in cheek a little bit back in September. Yeah, but if you take away those plays, it wasn't that bad. Last night was that bad because it was that way darn near every single time that they decided to run the football. Nebraska's lucky that Lincoln Riley didn't run the football every single time, because if he would have, I think the game could have been a whole lot worse.
I guess, but I still would argue the run game, while it stacked up numbers, it was only situationally really bad for Nebraska a couple of times. It was not like it just. I mean,
but is that because of Lincoln Riley or because of the run defense itself?
It was a couple of things. It was in part because they got a false start right on the goal line the one time and had to kick a field goal. That was part of it. It was in part because Lincoln Riley went away from it, but Nebraska bowed up a couple of times too at the end. And to be honest, Josh, like they didn't start running it like that till the second quarter. They did nothing in the first quarter. They tried. They did nothing in the first quarter. They had 12 yards total in the first quarter, right? Like they had nothing.
USC did?
USC had 2 drives. Let's see, first quarter, 3 plays, 7 yards.
Well, that's right, because it was the 2-3. It was the 2-3 and out.
5 yards. They didn't even have it wasn't until like the middle of the second quarter until they started getting King Miller going, and that was on that first field goal one, and that the one where they got the false start. That was the problem. But again, the backbreakers on every single one of those, except for the King Miller touchdown, was a Maeva run.
Mm-hmm.
It was always a Maeva run that was the backbreaker on these things. So, like, I still think some of that was a little bit. Listen, they obviously you never want to give up 7 yards per run, but if you are going to have that kind of pass defense against these guys, I still think you're making a pretty good trade-off there for that whole thing. Josh, a third of their passing yards came on the most fluky ass trick play to a guy who is not a normal receiver for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an incredible throw. I can't even believe he made it work. Like that was the longest developing flea flicker in history.
It was so slow. It took so long just to get.
I've never seen a running back
coverage.
It was great coverage too. That's the other thing. It was great.
They showed
he barely even burned him. Guthrie was there on him.
They did the all 22 afterwards, and it's like because they show it live, and it's like, wow, that was really good coverage. He just made a hell of a play. And then they did the all 22, and so you could see both the receiver at the top of the screen who made the catch and at the bottom. Both of the guys were locked down. Like the coverage on that play was absolutely great. It was exactly what you would have wanted it to be.
And I think the second longest pass of the game was it Lemon who got it. It was let me see if I can find it here. Hines got a 29-yard reception. He was draped covered on the play. It was a deep pass. He was complete. I didn't even think he caught it.
Even the good plays took through the air for USC. They had to work really hard.
I have never seen. I mean, that passing game was shut down in a way that it was shocking how much they shut the passing game down. So again, I certainly am not endorsing the run defense, but as a whole, if you take the defense as a whole and what the scores were, right? Man, I would have taken that. I definitely would have taken that in terms of what this defense did.
Jack, sure. They are the pass defense, third in the country in terms of yards per attempt. It's 5.1. They're second in the country in yards per game, only 3.5 yards behind Oregon, 128.3 yards per game. They have allowed 3 passing touchdowns, which is tied for Ohio State for number 1. The thing that they don't really do is intercept the ball, but that's because the passes are often not really coming anywhere near them. They're getting thrown over their heads throughout much of this game because the coverage has been so good. It's a real shame that they already have 3 losses and they're probably staring down the barrel at a couple more. Because this is, Jack, like the 2009, 2010 pass defenses with Prince and Dennard and Haig and Gomes and Asante, those were really good. But they also had Ndamukong Suh and Jared Crick and Barry Turner and others in front of them. What this pass defense is doing with this run defense, I don't think that we're going to see something like this again, Jack. I don't think that we are going to see a Nebraska run defense or a pass defense that is ever able to be this good with so little help in front of them. It is, they've been spectacular. Last night was.
I mean, it's the Emmett Johnson of the defense, isn't it? It's the Emmett Johnson of the defense.
Yeah. We've been giving them their flowers all year. I think for anyone who was like doubt, because I know that they had doubters last week. I saw some idiots, in the various chats that I do of shows. Well, they're going to get destroyed. Miami's going to do this. His total was 270 last night, and what did he get? Halfway there. I mean, what are we talking about? The pass defense was spectacular, absolutely spectacular last night.
Here's my point. How many yards do you think let's see, now I want to make sure I don't say this incorrectly here. Touchdown. So USC had two field goals, no touchdowns in the first half, right? Correct.
Yes. Yeah, it was 7-6. It was 6-7 at the half.
And then they got their first touchdown to tie it in the 2-point conversion at the end of the third, correct? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. King Miller through 3 quarters. How many yards do you think he had rushing on drives where USC scored a touchdown?
So you're just adding up the yardage he had
just
on
through
the scoring
three
drives?
Quarters of the game on scores on drives where they had a touchdown.
Real quick, I just want to make sure I'm understanding you.
Yes,
you
to prove my point situationally.
Okay. I'm guessing on those 3 drives, he probably had about 85 yards.
The ones where they scored, I'm going through the first 3 quarters. Well, I'll include the one where he scored the touchdown, I guess, too, to be completely fair. Let's see. He had 3. In the 2 touchdown drives, he had 9 yards rushing total.
Holy shit. So the drives where they don't score touchdowns.
And one of them was the actual touchdown that he scored, just to be clear. And one of them he had 0.
That should have been obvious because most of his yards came on the drives where they decided not to run the football anymore at the very end.
Right. And I guess you can say, well, Lincoln Riley effed it up. But I mean, like, I don't know, man. That's kind of like saying, well, Kirk Ferentz isn't a good coach because Nebraska effed it up, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he had 9. He didn't kill them on the offensive drives that killed them. Is all I'm saying.
But I think yes, but the reason is because his head coach was an idiot and didn't keep just running the football down Nebraska's throat for some reason.
No, it was because the backbreaking plays were Maava running.
Are you sorry, is the argument that you're making that the run defense wasn't as bad as we think it was? Because I definitely would disagree there.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there was there was some level of give and take it was on bend but don't break.
I mean, I will hear you, Jack. I would say go watch. I think it was, and I just saw the end of it, so I missed it. But they had the one drive where they went all the way down, and it was 1st and goal or 1st and 10, and suddenly they throw the ball 3 times in a row. But they throw the ball on 1st down, 2nd down, and it's like, what are you doing? Just run the ball. So I will disagree with you respectfully because I think that Lincoln Riley was an idiot.
I mean, listen, I guess I'm not even giving I mean, it's a fact, right? I don't know what there's no disagreeing with the fact is he did not have in the drives where they scored touchdowns. He did not have a big role. Their rushing game, King, it was Maava who had a big role rushing. When their offense was most effective, factually, it was Maava, not King. Right?
And that's where I'll disagree.
And the other thing I'll say is he did his damage in the middle of the field. Yeah. Right?
I'll disagree just because I think that he ran the ball really well and then they just decided to throw the ball at the end of those 2 drives. Like if they finish either of those drives with touchdowns, you're not saying this, but because Lincoln Riley was a moron, then, right. I understand the point you're making. I think that they screwed up by not having better play calls.
Like the red zone.
It was horrible. It was absolutely atrocious, but I think, and I know that we have often had fun conversations about how much of it's coaches versus players. I thought Lincoln Riley he did the stupid Lincoln Riley shit at the end of those drives multiple times. And if I were him, Jack, I would have ran the ball so much. His quarterback couldn't throw last night. Nebraska's pass defense was great. And whenever they wanted to run the football, they absolutely gashed Nebraska. They averaged 5.3 yards a carry, which doesn't even tell the story. They had 202 yards, which again, I don't think tells the story. King Miller only had 18 carries. If Emmett Johnson was averaging what he did and only got 18, I would have been pissed if I was a USC fan. Absolutely.
It's 14-6 with 10 minutes left in the third.
Yep.
Okay. Nebraska has that fumble again. That fumble. That was the injury, right?
That's the Dylan Raiola injury. Yeah.
So right after that, you're like, oh man, here comes a big change. King Miller 3 yards. King Miller 9 yards. King Miller 7 yards. King Miller 2 yards. Jackson, Miller's tired. Jackson for 3 yards. Jackson for 1 yard. There was a penalty in there. They had a false start. Jackson for 1 yard. 4th down. They tried to run up the middle. Couldn't get it. Nebraska stuffed them. Like that. That was, you don't think that was by design for the defense? Like this team,
no, that was Jack.
USC commits a crap load of penalties. They're going to screw themselves out of this if they run up. If they think they're going to do 7 to 12 yards up the field, they're going to eventually screw it up. And guess what? They did. Like,
well, in defense of you, Jack, I would say that drive was the best that Nebraska did the entire game in slowing down their run game. I thought
they didn't even slow it down that much. That's the point.
They did at the end of the drive, though.
3 yards,
then I don't know
9 yards.
I thought I was just giving. I was offering an olive branch. I was saying, good call by you, Jack. They did a good job at the end of that drive. Now I don't know what's going on.
Sorry, I didn't understand your take there because
I was agreeing with you. I was saying they made the play. That was the end of that drive was the best the run defense was the entire game because they stuffed them on a 4th and 2. There's no way in hell I thought that they were going to stop them, and they did. And that was the drive before the missed field goal.
And then the next drive was the flea flicker. So like,
and then the next drive was the free.
Yeah, the missed field goal and then the flea flicker, and it could it have been worse with the running game, I guess, but that wasn't what killed them.
If they would have stuck with it, I think it could have been worse. Right? Jack, you just mentioned...
I deal in what actually happened, not what could have happened.
That's not true. We've talked about what ifs on this podcast for years. You just mentioned it, and we have hinted at it. We've mentioned it in passing. We have not talked at all really about the Dylan Raiola injury. So that drive, Nebraska is into USC territory. This was after the interception, right? So Nebraska goes 3 and out to start the second half. Maava is picked off by Marshall. Terrible throw. Marshall made a good play, but a terrible throw. Nebraska has the ball at the 34. They are up 14-6. They have a chance. A field goal makes it a 2-score game. A touchdown makes it a 2-score game, but you're up 21-6. You're feeling really, really good. Nebraska goes 7-yard run, Emmett Johnson. They go incompletion, and then they go a run on 3rd and 3, 4-yard carry by Emmett Johnson.
It was a great run. Yeah.
And then they decide to throw the football. Now, this is where I started getting many, many texts about Dana Holgorsen and his play calling and what the hell was he thinking? Why isn't Nebraska just continuing to run the football? That was the one time, Jack, all night where the defensive line really was able to get after Dylan. I mean, they got to him, he moved, and then they got to him again. His ankle, we don't know for sure, but Jack, the line for the UCLA game is out this morning, and it is Bruins -1.5. That makes me wonder what does Vegas know, and are they expecting Dylan Raiola to play in the game on Saturday, late Saturday night, maybe a watch party? I'm kind of going all over the place with the injury, but I don't know. It certainly was the moment where everything shifted because then the offense, they didn't really feel comfortable throwing the football ever again after that play.
For sure. But like, okay, well, number one, like, we did not, I don't want to, we heard that it sounds bad, but it's not anything confirmed that it's
not reporting anything.
No, not reporting anything, but like the scuttlebutt was that it sounds
scuttlebutt coming out of the game last night is not good.
Not good. And
not good.
Well, I mean,
I've not heard anything officially from anyone.
It looked like a high ankle issue, and if it is a high ankle sprain, that's unless you're somehow Patrick Mahomes. That oddly enough, that is really. I didn't mean to do that. It is really odd. Patrick Mahomes did it in the same game. I still can't believe that.
And then you won another playoff game, and then you won the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's
I don't. He had some good drugs or something. Like I don't know how he did that. But usually that would be multiple weeks. And then if it was worse, like broken or a crack, that could be the rest of the regular season. I think those are in play. And I think either of them could be the rest of the regular season. So, but just to get back to your point, wait, was the point that because like they're culpable because they tried to pass on first down, and that ended up getting.
No, I was just laying out all the things. I don't want to argue with you about the play call because I know that you'll defend the play call because you love.
Yeah, because I've been such a Holgorsen fan the last few weeks. I don't know. That's just an odd take to me. Like that. I know it wasn't yours, but I saw it from others. Is like, oh man, Holgorsen got him killed by he can't throw a pass. Like, what are we doing here? He can't.
I like Emmett Johnson. I would have kept running the football.
It was 1st and 10. They were doing fine. Like the play, every play in that drive had been like fine at that point. Like that's. Okay.
I wasn't even trying to have that argument. I was just laying it out what was happening in that moment in time. It was more about the injury and how that.
With what purpose?
I just was laying out the entire situation. I was laying out the take. I was laying out the play.
Yeah, so Emmett Johnson 7. They tried to pass to Isaiah Hunter that didn't work, where Dylan Raiola didn't get injured. So I guess that one was okay. And then Johnson for 4 on a great run on 3rd and 3. Credit to, because that play they wouldn't have given it to Emmett a lot of times in the last 2 games on that situation, and he converted, and that was good. And then yes, you're right, it was out of the shotgun. I mean, I don't even know exactly what the play was exactly on that, but it kind of, I mean,
it was the one time the protection broke down. He got smoked, man.
Dude, isn't it crazy?
Twice.
Like in 2 games, the protection's broken down twice, and there have been major injuries on both plays.
Correct. Last week it was Prohaska going down for his career, and then today or yesterday rather, it is Dylan Raiola going down, and now
like if USC was absolutely bringing pressure all night, and again, I know you're not necessarily giving that take. Like I would get that take, but
I'll give you Mike Schaefer's phone number. You can argue with Schaefer.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that was his take. Listen, I believe that about other games, but not this one here. Look at me defending the coaches here tonight. Jeez.
Yeah. You wanted to have an argument that I didn't even want to have. I just was saying things.
I guess I'm defending the coordinators. I still can't believe the 4th down. The 4th down field goal, Harburg.
Dude, we're going to be talking about that for weeks around here.
In the moment, I was losing my mind. Just to be clear, this was not a after the fact. It was just like, what are they doing? Like, just go. I want them to go for it so bad. I thought they were going to get it. I mean, I still do. It was that far. God!
Unreal. Yeah. Everything changed.
So tired of this.
Yeah.
Man, that was and real quick in the stadium. Everything it was beginning. Listen, the fan base again. Everyone with this program. I'll say it again. Thank their lucky stars for this fan base. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? What this fan base will do for this program? Everyone wore black. Everyone was there.
I wanted to ask you about the environment.
It looked awesome. And credit to everyone involved with it. The marketing of that whole thing was great. I said this on Saturday morning. I will say it again. I thought it was a success. I thought it changed the way that game felt. I thought that was a really smart thing to do to make it feel like a bigger game than it even was. Because again, in some ways, it's an unranked team against a barely ranked team, right? It's not a game with playoff implications for the most part, right? It's not, I mean, there have been much bigger games in Memorial Stadium.
I was thinking that last night. There was a pan of the crowd at some point in the second half, and you could just see how full it was, how every seat was filled, how everyone was wearing the same color, and just how special and unique of a night it was. And which, I mean, of course, is going to add to the frustration or the sadness or the anger that it feels like a great opportunity that they again let get by them, where they could have ended all sorts of streaks and things. And they moved it. They could have moved to 7-2. They would have been in the playoff top 25 on Tuesday. Like all of those things could have happened. And, instead it's just another heartbreaker. But you're right. Like, it looked ridiculous on TV. And I have to imagine for you in person, it was ridiculous being there with just all of the excitement and all the noise and just the look of it all.
They manufactured the Colorado atmosphere without the intense hate that motivated that for Dion.
Great way to put it.
In a laboratory. They freaking manufactured that in a laboratory. So kudos to them for doing that. And then you can't do that with barely any fan base is the other thing. So if anyone ever gets tempted again to go bow on the fan base, don't do it, man. It's stupid. Don't do it. And I'm not saying, look, I don't think I've been really thankful about this regime for generally not doing that. They've been tempted a couple of times, but if this slams at home again, and it was loud, the Northwestern game was loud. I was so impressed with the crowd at the Northwest. The crowds have been, it used to be pretty fashionable, Josh, to kind of crap on how bad the crowds were and take pictures of all the empty seats. Remember that? Like student section. Yeah. It really was like, I don't know. I haven't been to all the games this year, but I've been to the last 2 and it feels live in there.
Where did last night rank for you in terms of recent kind of big time atmospheres that you have attended? I mean, is that one up there with some of the
I wasn't at Colorado.
Ones?
It's been a while since I've been to a big night game because there just haven't been that many, to be honest. I wasn't at Colorado, so I can't compare it to that one. Man, that's a good question. I might have to think on that a little bit.
You know what's wild too, Jack, is they don't have another home game until Iowa. So they have one more home game now. So, I mean, they have a game against UCLA, off, game at Penn State, and then they play Iowa on Black Friday. So it's like, last night, as special as it was, I mean, there's a world, Jack, where they return home, 6-5. There's certainly a world where they return home with a couple wins. There's a world where they return home 7-4. Who knows what's going to happen, but it's just going to be like that could have been a nice little jumping off point to finish up the season. And now they're going to really have to lick their wounds and pick themselves up for a cross country trip, at UCLA late at night, 8:00 on a Saturday. Coming up next Saturday.
Yeah. By the way, we usually don't do comments from the YouTube, but thank you to everybody who's been on the YouTube watching us. We appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe. Yeah. Ken talked about one thing that we haven't talked about on the YouTube, and I'm glad he brought it up at least.
Last play of the game.
He said Emmett falling down was a complete fluke. He's got the best balance I've seen in running back. 1,000% agree. And then he said Emmett doesn't fall down. He probably gains at least 30. I'm sitting right behind that play, Josh, and I don't know if you guys have seen a replay. Look at
the parting of the black sea?
Look at the right. It's not where he was going. If he cut back, look at the right side of it will make you ill. Because I had the view. I haven't watched it on TV, and maybe it didn't even show up on TV. But I had like the all 11 view right behind, and he had a cutback, which I think maybe he saw. Like, there's a part of me, I think he saw that in his peripheral vision. And and so it's sort of like when you have a
pitter patter a little too fast,
right? You have the ball. You're like, oh my gosh, I got a touchdown here if I can catch this and run fast. Like, there's like a part of that wonders if that was it. But man, I'm definitely not dogging him on that. I watched, and it didn't look like his feet. It didn't look like Lateef got his feet. It looked like Emmett just got his own feet tripped up. But I haven't seen a ton of replays of it.
He did. It was not.
But it might have been. Again, that goes maybe with the rhythm of having a different quarterback in too.
The mesh is going to be different, 100%. The mesh is going to be different with those two players, versus with Dylan. Yeah, that was of all of the ways for the game to come to a close. Like, Jack, I don't want to say like that. There's some players that I dislike, and if they fail, it's funny. Like, it's not that. It's just more like that. He's my favorite player on the team. I love Emmett Johnson, right? Like, I love watching him run. I love how much better he has gotten. I love that he has bet on himself and he continues to get better. And so for the game to end with him falling over, like, it sucks. Like, what a terrible, terrible, terrible way for the game to come to a close.
It was just,
I know, and now, can't believe it.
And it's like, if you even do this blackout, I know they want to do it annually, but man, now I got a bad connotation with it again, right? Like, I gotta now, like, the whole night. By the end of the night, it was just like, man, what a crappy night,
Yeah.
What a
how about this?
Bad mood last night, as you guys could all see.
I believe Jack Dirk is hanging out this morning because he just tweeted at me. Dirk, respond to my text, by the way. Dirk writes, it feels like a great opportunity that they let by them. He says, this, not the groin kicks, is the untold story of the generation. How many memories and moments didn't happen? Jack, when we did the Chronicles, the thing that if I'm most proud of one piece of writing in that whole thing, it is how I wrote about the Michigan game in 21 that you and many people were critical of for being as low as it was. Because I've always thought of that game as the night where our generation or the young generation would have been, and I think I said, like, it could have been talked about in hushed tones, like 78 Oklahoma or 1992 Colorado. I don't know if last night is that. I don't know if that, because the history with USC isn't even what it was with Michigan, and certainly what it was with Oklahoma in 78 or Colorado in 92, right? But last night was another one of those you should be with me right now losses that you have talked about for years. And so for them to not get it and to be so close, and to, they have the individual who is putting up a career night. Like, if they win Emmett Johnson, that is his night. That is Emmett Johnson's finest football game. If they win, it is the finest game that this defense and the pass defense, because they overcome the run game woes on defense. They overcome not being able to get to Mayava a little bit more because the pass defense is that good. They overcome the questionable decision making and the weird timeouts. Like, I think it would have been about two things. It would have been about EJ and I guess Lateef, because he would have been on the field for the game-winning drive, and it would have been about the pass defense. And instead, it's just like, oh man, another great night that people will say, man, that was really fun, except that they lost. And it was, Jack, they called for a blackout and they did it. Damon sent out a couple photos right before the game started. And I was like, holy shit, they pulled it off. Like, they pulled it off exactly as I would have hoped for. I remember when Corey McEwen asked for a blackout before Texas in 2006. And I was like, God, I hope that they get it. And they didn't. Of course, the student section was black. Nobody else was. And last night, the university finally, this week, wear black. They paint the end zones. They paint the end. Everything. Like it. Jack,
it looked cool. It looked so cool
awesome,
in there,
man. And then
I don't know what it looked like on TV, but it looked freaking. I walked in there and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this worked!" Like everybody, all of these people bought in. People were, you know how many black coats were purchased in Lincoln and in the state? The black coat economy. When the Department of Revenue gets the tax numbers for the black coat thing that they got, they'll be like, okay, 02, 03, 04. What happened in October of 2025 with the black coat?
How can we replicate this?
Burlington Coat Factory is like, we can't keep these things on the shelves. What are we doing? Like everybody had to buy a black coat because you might have a black shirt, right? A black Husker shirt, but you probably
maybe a hoodie.
Maybe don't have, although black coats, I guess, are fairly common, but nonetheless, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's a great point. And I think you're right, Josh, that when you wrote about the 21 Michigan game, I think in the podcast itself, we used several sort of fake metrics to measure the missed opportunity that you should have been there.
Opportunity lost.
You should be with their factor. I believe we had fireworks saved, right? We had, we had intensity of party missed, right? Or like parties over replacement, or all of these things. We played with several of those during the course of the Groin Kick Chronicles, and it's another one because even if it wasn't practically all that big of game, they had created, like, God, that's so hard to do. They created a big game. They created a bigger home field atmosphere than they even have normally, which is a big one, which is a good one. They created a bigger one, and it made a freaking difference in the game. USC came in there and couldn't pass, barely tried. Until they got in the red zone.
you said it just now. You said it earlier as well. They essentially they made this from scratch. They created an atmosphere that would have been good. USC game, big game, top 25, like it would have been big. They
real. Wow.
The blackout one.
Yeah. Is that Adam? The picture he posted real?
Yeah.
That's not a. That is
no. Dude, it's crazy. They like you said, they took something that would have been a big game, and they somehow, I mean, kind of like in Spinal Tap, this one goes to 11. They turned it up to 11 all on their own. And say what you about the athletic department over the years. Cool. Like, Jack, did you see the tweet from John last night? John, anti-blackout, anti any of this. Even he was like, it was pretty cool.
That's what I said. Pretty cool. I said that this morning, or Saturday morning. Remember that? I was like, even people who don't like it kind of like it, right? Even people who don't like the idea of wearing alternate uniforms like the end result of the entire thing.
Even they had to respect it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But man, just the freaking complimentary, everything that went with it. It just it freaking fell short. But yes, don't look at that last play if you don't want to have your heart broken on it. So it's like the running version of, oh, there was a wide receiver wide open. Because imagine, like you said, imagine if Emmett Johnson goes down either on that play or eventually they go down and Emmett Johnson gets that last touchdown, because then he is getting the attention he deserves.
Well, then he's probably having 200 plus yards, from scrimmage, and
and on every highlight show, like I hate it for him, man. I hope he's out. I wonder. First of all, he's definitely getting calls. Number one, to transfer.
They gotta fight. I would fight harder. I mean, especially now that Barney has dropped off a little bit. I mean, Emmett Johnson is the player you have to fight so hard to keep. Jack, they have to get him for one more year. They have to, because he could be. Jack, like, people said that we were like way too high on him, and so I don't want to say anything really stupid here. I mean, he could be a 1,500 to 1,800 yard back. I mean, he's already at 1,000 right now. Maybe 1,500 is undershooting it. Like, I don't know why he couldn't have a slightly lesser season than Amir Abdullah had as a senior before he got hurt. I don't know why he couldn't be a poor man's version of Amir Abdullah as a senior. I'm serious.
And if you're a guard who likes to run block and you want to replace Rocco Spindler at guard, come to Nebraska. You like run blocking. You're a guard. That's your favorite thing to do, I'm going to guess. Right?
Yeah.
And obviously they need tackles too, but Spindler's gone now after this year. So they're going to need you're going to need an offensive line for him. You're going to need somebody behind him to take the pressure off him occasionally too. Those two things have to be priorities in the offseason.
100%.
And keeping him.
By the way, I know we only have a few minutes left, so we're not going to have enough time to get into this, but Dirk did add another tweet. He says, one thing that jumps out about Nebraska in these high-profile games, how often they let an opponent playing poorly off the hook. By the time USC woke up, it should have been a 2 or a 3 score game. Serious question, why is that? The margin for error in a game shouldn't be this small. Jack, one of the things that just annoys the shit out of me is that they're almost like wish casting into an existence. Like, the game's going to be close. The game's going to go down to the wire. Just got to make the plays. And like, it has really started to grate me, especially as I watch. And comparing Nebraska to the number 2 team in the country, probably a fool's errand. But Indiana doesn't approach it like that. Indiana says, we are going to go into Maryland and we are going to kick the shit out of this football team and leave no doubt. And maybe Nebraska's not good enough to even believe that they could do that or to think that way. But Jack, I am a believer in, what you say matters. How you feel about something. If I wake up and say this day is going to suck, I do believe that the day will be worse for me than if I wake up and say, this could be a great day. And I have to respond to the things that come to my day, right? Like sometimes I say it's going to be a good day and then it's not. Sometimes I say it's going to be a bad day and something goes my way. But I do wish that this program would not approach every game like, yep, it's going to go down to the wire. It doesn't have to go down to the wire.
Slight counter argument. What were we furious about after the first drive against Michigan? Remember the first drive against Michigan? They threw up the pass. But what'd they do? They went for it on fourth. Well, they had the pass on fourth down. But what'd they do? Not take the field goal in that game. And they got blasted for it, right?
I didn't, for the record. I was doing zero blasting.
Okay, you weren't. Okay, well, I'm not saying you're being inconsistent, but sometimes we talked about this. It feels like they go the other direction, right? After something goes bad and gets critiqued, they go completely the other direction. But
this is the Rhule thing from day one. He always says the games are going to be close. He always says that. He's always believing that they're going to be close.
Maybe that's true, and that's a separate point then, and that's a fair point too. But sometimes I've critiqued the staff for emotionally going for it on fourth down, just like letting in situations where, man, just get some points in this situation. And I felt like where I felt was the exact opposite on Saturday night. Like that was that felt like it was in just the opposite of like overly protecting. Like, let's not get too emotional, which was what I was asking for in the past. But it's funny how often that happens. So, but it wasn't a 50-yarder. Yeah. Field goal wasn't 52 yards. I agree. Like, listen, I thought they should go for it. I thought they should have run Heinrich Harburg. I thought he would have got it. I had no problem with that.
Go for it. Punt it. Kick a field goal, whatever you do, don't call a timeout. That was the worst possible thing that they could have done in that situation. Whatever you do, don't call a timeout in that situation.
Or if you're going to call a timeout, come out in a great play that gets a first down.
Bingo. All right. That's after Nebraska football. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this Sunday morning in an unusual time for us. Jack and I will talk a little bit over the course of the next few days and figure out what we're doing next week. But I think an early idea of a watch party very much in the cards. I would imagine that would be a lot of fun because we will not be doing a post-game show that night. So stay tuned for us on that. Jack, we have a bonus episode coming up on Wednesday. Say this, for those who read my reporting on Wednesday, bonus episode that we recorded before that had a lot of good stuff in there. We would love to have you at patreon.com/i80club.
Maybe you should have just stood on business. Just stood on the business from in the future, Josh. Maybe let's just stand on the bonus pod, okay? On the subscriber pod. Just to listen. I'm not sure if you got any advice this week, but maybe that's some that I would proffer for you. There
was quite some info in there that didn't even make it into the story. So that was good. We'll have another bonus pod coming up on Wednesday night this week. We'll have a football show on Thursday. I haven't even told Jack who the guest is. I'm going to tell him when we say goodbye, and he's going to say, "Oh man, that's awesome!" So that'll be fun, and so much more to come. So we'd love to have you. Patreon.com/i80club. Jack will be doing a volleyball state tonight exclusively for subscribers. That'll be at 7:00, so you can watch that one there.
If Nebraska loses a set, prepare for me to call for a new coach for Nebraska.
Classic Jack, always wanting to fire coaches. Always.
And the assistant, Jalen Reyes, has got to go.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this Sunday. Enjoy the football today. For Jack, I am Josh. This was After Nebraska Football, a part of the